Welcome to our brown bag virtual discussion on the crisis of visiting in California state prisons. My name is Ivana Gonzalez. I am the Family Unity Coordinator at Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, as well as the lead organizer of the Coalition for Family Unity. Today we're going to start our webinar with a testimonial video of the children who are suffering the separation of families within the visiting crisis. Welcome to our virtual brown bag discussion. We are glad that you could make it today. My name is Ivana Gonzalez and I work for Legal Services for Prisoners with Children as the lead organizer of the Coalition for Family Unity. Today we will be discussing visiting issues in California state prisons from the voices of the family members most impacted, and the importance of passing a visiting bill this year to keep families connected. Visiting supports public safety. It creates safer communities, supports mental health for incarcerated people and their families, and also avoids recidivism. Next, we will be hearing from the voices of the children most impacted from this cruel separation. Thank you, Governor, for adding a third day of visit and transportation in the May revised budget. We hope that we can soon hear from CDCR on how that money is going to be implemented. Let's discuss together and find some reforms and proposals to these issues that our families are suffering. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is George. My dad's incarcerated and I have a few words to speak with you. I miss being able to hold my dad's hand during visit. I miss feeling the warmth beside me, me and my mom. And I just wish that I can hold his hand again and have him by my side. Because for these last couple of years during this pandemic, it's fine looking through the video, but I just want to feel that connection again, the physical touch with my father. It would be really nice, and I would love the full 3 days visit like you promised. I just want a little bit. I just want some change. That's it. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Lisa, and due to COVID, my wedding got postponed. When things finally opened up, we were able to get married, and we couldn't even seal our marriage with a kiss after we said I do due to the restrictions. As we're supposed to be getting 3 days of visiting, CDCR is only giving us 2 days. And with that being said, I traveled 10 hours to go see my husband to not even get our 2-hour guaranteed visits. Due to the time it takes to get processed in, we're lucky to get an hour and a half. Visits are very hard to come by and get scheduled due to the restrictions and social distancing. When my husband has a bad day, I can't even comfort him because video calls aren't the same as being in person to give the love and support with our families.
Hi, I'm Nico, and I want to talk to you about my dad, which visiting can be stressful at times since he's 5 hours away, and getting visits is hard because they could be taken up or the system can kick us off. And then I miss eating with him and feeling his touch and taking pictures with him and playing Uno with him or like playing dominoes with him.
My name is Larry Gonzalez and my dad's name is Larry Gonzalez. He has been incarcerated for 14 years and it has really affected the both of us. We aren't able to connect the way that parents and their children should, because we only get a certain period of time to really talk and hang out, like through a 15-minute phone call, which cuts us off when we're talking about something that we want to talk about, and only for a few hours during visiting. When I was away from him during quarantine for 2 years and I couldn't see him, this might sound bad, but I didn't care if I didn't see him. I didn't care if he was gonna see me or if I was gonna see him, because I had been away from him for so long and had gotten used to the fact that he wasn't there like a father should be. But after Camp Grace, it really helped me reconnect with my father, and it just helped with a lot of things. It helped me get to know him much more, and it helped, and I'm very thankful for that.
Hi, I'm Alejandro, and my dad is incarcerated. Governor, I don't understand why I can't hug my dad in a regular visit, but I can hug him in a family visit. What's up with that? I miss holding my dad's hand in visits. And you promised 3 days of visits. We only got 2. I don't know what's going on here. But video calls are not visits. I want to see my dad.
When we have to do regular visits, I can't hold him or hug him, and I want to know why. And the governor promised 3 visits, in-person visits, and we're not getting 3 visits. We're only getting 2 in-person visits, and one of them is a video call. Video calls aren't even real visits. I miss hugging my dad. I miss holding his hand. I want to know why we can't hug our parents and hold our parents' hands. It's normal. We should be able to do that.
Thank you so much to all of these children, courageous children that were open to sharing their stories. Unfortunately, children are suffering because of prolonged separation from their incarcerated parents. And welcome once again to everybody who has just joined us. This is a virtual discussion on the crisis of visits in prison. And I want to start our session with introducing our panelists this morning, and I'm going to hand it over to Maria. Please introduce yourself, and then you can hand it over to the rest of the panel.
Hi, my name is Maria. I am with the Police for Grace, and I will pass it over to Nico.
Hi, I'm Nico. My dad is in prison.
Nico, just your name. We'll read that after.
Oh, okay. My name's Nico.
Thank you. Alex?
Hello, my name is Alex.
And I'll pass it to Dolores.
Hello, my name is Dolores Canales, and I'm with California Families to Abolish Solitary Confinement. Thank you.
Angel?
My name is Angel Rice, and I'm with Empowering Women Impacted by Incarceration.
Jay?
Hey everyone, my name is Jay Vasquez. I'm with Courage.
Danica?
My name is Danica Rodarmel. I'm the State Policy Director at the San Francisco Public Defender's Office and a person with a loved one in California State Prison.
Eric?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Eric Morrison-Smith with the Alliance of Boys and Men of Color and Policy Link.
Thank you, Eric. And as we can see, we have 2 of our brave panelists this morning, Nico and Alex. Thank you for being here as well. Eric, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate you, Ivana. Before we get started with the full program, we're just gonna take a second to do a poll on 2 questions regarding visitation in California. The first question is, before the pandemic, what percentage of incarcerated people in California prisons received at least 1 visit a year? So the poll should be up on your screen. Go ahead and select what option you think it is. If you can't use the poll for any reason, you could throw your response in the chat. So I'm gonna give y'all about 15 to 20 seconds to go ahead and answer that question. I see one person in the chat said 80. I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all the answer. I can't see how many of y'all have answered so far, but the answer is 34% received at least 1 visit in 2019. So that's a pretty low number, much lower than 80%. And then the only piece just to highlight is only 25 received 3 or more visits in a year. But in our experience, we really do think it has been far fewer than 25% receive regular visits throughout the year. All right, for our next question, how much does it cost for a family of 3 from Los Angeles to visit an incarcerated person in Northern California, say at Pelican Bay? Okay, now I see the responses coming in. Oh, and it just disappeared. And if you can't see the poll, feel free to throw your answer in the chat. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all the answer, and this is an average, of course, is around $900 and $932.19. There we go, and that includes travel, lodging, and food during the trip. And as you can see, that's a tremendous cost for families to visit their loved ones who are incarcerated. You know, and I know this personally. My father was incarcerated for 24 years. My mother and I lived in San Diego, and he was actually incarcerated in Northern California, which is about an 8-hour drive from where we lived. And whenever we visited him, we had to spend money on gas, hotel for 2 nights, and basically 6 meals over the 2 days, which is just a tremendous cost for anyone, but especially poor working class families like us. All right, next, I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about why prison visitation is important for all Californians. First, by noting a statement from Prison Policy Initiative, and this was a part of their study done in 2021. And they basically said that, you know, the research is clear. Visitation, mail, phone, and other forms of contact between incarcerated people and their families have positive impacts for everyone, including better health, reduced recidivism, and improvement in school. So this is, you know, really a common sense policy. And there are 3 other, you know, additional things that we just want to highlight regarding the benefits to visitation. You know, and the 3 are children's healthy development. You know, we heard Ivana mention that. We've got the opportunity to hear from some youth. Mental health and safety in prisons, and then public safety and helping people to thrive after. Visitations are critical for children's healthy development. You know, as a child, some of my best memories are when I got to visit my father and experience his love. And we've already heard some people speak to that. You know, when ensuring children have the opportunity to stay connected to their loved ones is critical for their development and building lasting relationships. On the mental health and safety, you know, ensuring those who are incarcerated have access to their families is critical for their mental health and helps to improve safety within prison walls. And then just on that last one, you know, accessible visits is critical as a public safety strategy due to the role in helping people get rehabilitated and building the relationships that ensure that they're supported and successful after they're released. You know, so those are just the 3 that we wanted to highlight right now. I'm going to pass it back to Ivana to speak a little bit about the timeline of family separation.
Thank you so much, Eric. And we want to take this time to kind of break it down for education purposes about how visiting has not been a problem during the pandemic only. It's only exacerbated during the pandemic, but it has been an issue since the 1970s when it was recognized as a right down to where we are today. So in the 1970s through the 1980s, California recognized incarcerated persons' rights to visit. And under the California law, incarcerated people's right could be infringed only if necessary and narrowly tailored to legitimate security interest. Visits were frequent and not limited to weekends only. During the 1976 to the 77, in San Quentin, there were 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, including evenings. In 1982, Old Folsom State Prison, 4 days a week, 8 hours a day. Visits were almost always available, even several times a week. In the 1990s, the right to visit is replaced. Legal enforcement standard is weakened and changed to reasonably related to legitimate penological interests are changed. Visiting schedules were gradually reduced despite the rising prison populations. During the 1996 year, Silicon Valley State Prison were 3 days a week, 8 hours a day. In 1998, CCWF, the women's prison, were 2 short days of 5 hours, 2 full days. Also, in CDCR, increasingly restricted visits for non-security reasons. In 2000 to 2010, prison became increasingly overcrowded, but visiting days continued to be reduced and fewer days serving more people. By 2010, there were only 2 visiting days at most prisons, but CDCR was at 200% capacity. On the eve of the pandemic, January 2020, only 2 visiting days at all prisons, and visiting rooms were often so overcrowded that visits were often terminated early or canceled. In March of 2020, it was the start of the pandemic. Visiting is shut down in all prisons, and there was no replacement with video calls or other face-to-face contact. CDCR saved around $35 million a year that had been budgeted for visiting. November through December of 2020, there were limited video calling gradually rolled out to prisons. 1 hour of call once every 30 days if you can get an appointment. In April 2020, there were limited in-person visiting. There were 2 hours of visits, no children, and limited slots. Limited video calling to 1 hour calls, but very limited availability. Visits and calls were often shorter than scheduled. An appointment system was very difficult to use, so some people cannot get any visits or video appointments at all. In June of 2020, there was funding included in the May revised budget for a third in-person visit day at all prisons, and also included related transportation service. Fall of 2021, third day of in-person visit is not yet implemented except for very few prisons, 3 to be more specific. Transportation assistance have not been implemented yet. In January of 2022, in-person visit is completely shut down at all prisons indefinitely, and few prisons are offering 3 days of video calls. The summary of it all. Even before the pandemic, there was a dramatic decrease in total visiting hours since the 1970s, despite the soaring populations in each prison. During the pandemic, there has been a complete shutdown or severe restrictions on visiting and other family contact for almost 2 years without alternatives, example, video visits, at anywhere near comparable levels or with equal access. Thank you once again for listening today. We're going to have a discussion between our panelists who are also family members affected by the visiting crisis in California state prisons. I'm going to pass it on to Maria to talk more to us about in-person visits in California state prisons.
Thank you, Ivana. My name's Maria Moore. My husband is incarcerated and I've been on this journey for 13 years now. Now more than ever, we need visits to be more accessible to the 34 prisons. Right now, video calls and visits are not running simultaneously except for at only one institution. 15-minute calls are not enough to maintain a social healthy relationship with loved ones. With these restrictions of COVID, now a caregiver has to pick which child gets to go and visit their parent or their family member. And oftentimes these trips are very long and only to get a 1 hour and a half to spend this time with their loved one. More specifically, institutions like Donovan and Solano are often canceling video calls if not enough incarcerated people within that same building have visits scheduled, and there hasn't been anything done to remedy this. Family members aren't being told until the very last minute. Kern Valley, right before this shutdown, only had 2 slots for Saturday, whereas other institutions had 3. And on Friday, they were able to accommodate 3, so there was no reason to not be able to do that for Saturday. With video calls should definitely should be a supplement to in-person visiting, not a replacement when in-person visiting is impossible. As loved ones regularly transferred to different prison or housing units with different rules and policies, but trying to access and incarcerated loved ones during the pandemic has been a brutal and devastating experience. So many families and so many marriages have ended especially during this pandemic. One major barrier to a family connection in California is currently the GTO visiting scheduling application, or also known as VSA. The system was put into place last year after visiting resumed and replaced with the previous system known as VPAS. However, GTL scheduling system has been difficult to use for the vast majority of people. To assist in better understanding the full extent of the issue across the state and identify potential solutions, we've conducted a survey of visitors seeking to make appointments to visit incarcerated loved ones between August and December of 2021. We received close to 900 responses, and the highlights of these results will be distributed to attendees afterwards. Things that were pointed out were ongoing issues with GTL scheduling system. Thanks to the governor, CDCR efforts to stagger these appointment times to try and stop GTL from crashing so much. However, it is still an ongoing issue. It is very inaccessible. We definitely need a system in place that provides equal access, regardless of tech-savvy individuals, and access to high-level internet service or language or disability barriers. Right now, it is only available in Spanish, and that is the only other language that it's available. With that, thank you for your time. I will pass it over to Ms. Angel Rice.
Hello, everyone. So the things that I've experienced with VSA and the new scheduling is that families are struggling with getting appointments. We've gone from having approximately 100 visits per day in one visiting day to going to having to fight for 10 slots per yard per visiting scheduled hour. So families are struggling with getting appointments. They're having issues with logging in and getting to the confirmation page, getting kicked off. They're having issues with getting confirmations on their visiting. The VSA system is not working as effective as it should be. We have families that are traveling from out of state. As soon as the pandemic hit the second time, we had families that were scheduled for appointments, and they were notified maybe hours before that the facilities were going on lockdown. Families traveling 10 hours away, families flying from out of state. It's costly to all of us. It's costly to them. It's imperative that we get this system on track. We need CDCR to do something about this. We need to be able to have families scheduling without feeling the anxiety of not getting an appointment, having to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 5:50, just because they don't want to miss out on getting an appointment. So we need to do better. CDCR needs to do better to make this work for us all.
Thank you so much, Angel. And I'm going to pass it down to Dolores Canales.
Hi, my name is Dolores Canales, and I am directly impacted as well as system impacted. I have a son and loved ones incarcerated in the facility. And I am here just to pretty much reiterate all the same issues, all the same problems that numerous families are going through across the state of California right now at this time. I know that Hope was elated when we found out we were going to get 3 days visiting, only to find out the reality that each institution is not even implementing a third day of visit, but more so the numerous problems of trying to schedule an appointment. And I would like to yield my time because I know we have several other guests that I'm really anxious to hear from.
Danica?
Yeah, I think Maria had mostly covered the issues with the visiting application. I'm happy to answer any questions that people have by the chat specific to the visiting application. And as mentioned, we will be sending out the results of that survey, and it has a lot of helpful breakdown about some of the main issues that people have had over time, both before the staggering of appointment times started and afterwards, as well as what prisons folks are in, what legislative districts folks live in. So you look forward to just getting a lot more of that information out to everybody here today.
Thank you, Danica. Maria?
Yeah, so I am going to introduce some of our kids who were part of that video you saw earlier today, and they are going to share some of their stories. Nico?
Hi, I'm Nika. My dad is in prison, and my dad has been incarcerated my whole life. I couldn't hold my dad until I was 10 years old. I don't understand why at the prison where my dad's at, I am only able to visit him one day, but the other kids get to visit their dads for 2 days. My mom has to drive 10 hours for me to visit my dad. For a visit, that's less than 2 hours. I can't hold my dad's hand for a visit. We are all vaccinated, and I don't understand why Governor Newsom promised us 3 days, and the warden at High Desert State Prison only allows us to visit 1 day a week. I've missed 15 days of school because we can only visit on a weekday. I want to hug and hold my dad whenever I want during visit. For my birthday, we had a visit scheduled and drove up to the prison. While we were being processed, they told me I couldn't visit my dad. I was so upset. We drove all the way and didn't get to spend my birthday with my dad. Video visits or not visits, please give us what you promised. 3 days of visiting in person.
Thank you so much, Nico. You wanted to share one of the pictures with your dad?
Yeah.
Thank you. Next up, we
You're
have
welcome.
Alejandro Cervantes.
Hello, my name is Alex, and I'm 13 years old, and I only see my dad because of the Place for Grace program. And during that, I love the time. I love the time to spend, and I like to spend time with him and try to make up the time lost. And the first topic I want to get on top of is that the governor promised 3 days of visits and free transportation, which is not happening. It's for me, it's only for 2 days and no transportation. And the CDCR states that video calls are visits, but let's be realistic here. Those are not visits. We can't hug. We can't hug. I can't kiss. I can't feel the physical connection I have with family visits before COVID hit. I just don't have that same connection with my dad. And sometimes the video calls can be laggy and they're not clear, and it's just not right, and it doesn't make sense. And it was hard enough not being able to see him because of COVID. And the only time I get to talk to him is when he gets free calls, and that's kind of rare when he gets free calls. And I expected the visits. I expected the governor and the rest of the community to do better with the visits, but in fact, it just got a little worse. And I hope this gets resolved and we get a solution for all the families, because all the main people that are getting affected here is the kids, thousands of kids actually. I'm very honored here to actually speak for them, and thank you for your time. I also have a picture of my dad somewhere in this book I have back in 2019. Oh, my thing's blurred. Let's see. Okay. No. And here's a picture. Oh wait, here's a picture of my dad. You can see where I get my looks from. As you can see, very handsome. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much, Alex and Nico, for being here today and sharing your guys' story. And thank you, Alex, and Nico, both representing so many children being affected by the separation and the suspension and canceling of visits in California state prisons. So we're talking about what needs to be done. I'm going to pass it over to Jay Vasquez, who's going to talk to us about how that relates to the importance of passing a visiting bill this year.
Thank you, Ivana. First, I just want to thank Alex and Nico for sharing your stories here today, and just the unnecessary barriers that you're suffering. And Alex and Nico's stories are not unique, and there's so many families being unnecessarily separated by these unnecessary barriers that currently exist in CDCR's visiting procedures. And so some of the things that the Coalition for Family Unity has been doing for the last couple of years has been trying to eliminate some of those unnecessary barriers so that people like Nico and people like Alex and so many other children and family members can see their loved ones and stay connected. When people stay connected to their loved ones who are incarcerated, everybody wins. The incarcerated person wins, the families win, and to be frankly honest, the community wins. When people stay connected inside, they tend to do better when they come home. So it's just a win-win all the way around, and it makes really no sense why we have all of these necessary barriers. So some of the things that the Coalition for Family Unity is striving to do is to restore visiting as a right. As it was shared earlier, visiting was a right. It existed for several decades, and then during the 90s with the tough on crime era, the lock them up, the super predator era, and just get tough on crime, lock people up, throw away the key. During that era, the right to visiting was taken away, and a lot of these necessary barriers were created as a result of that. So I think the first thing that needs to be done is to restore visiting as a right. People should be able to see their loved ones who are incarcerated. Families shouldn't have to go through all of these hoops and barriers, and then sometimes even be denied to see their loved ones. And we need to restore that right to people to be able to see their families, stay connected in a meaningful way. Some of the some of the barriers that will be eliminated with a bill that we're currently working on, the Coalition for Family Unity. Formerly, it was Assembly Bill AB 990 under Santiago, and made it all the way to the governor's desk. Unfortunately, it did not get signed, but we're coming back this year again with similar language. And some of the barriers we're seeking to dismantle are errors on visiting applications. I mean, it makes no sense, right, for people to have to remember every single arrest they've ever had, going back to the 80s, the 70s, the 90s. No one could really remember that. And when someone applies for a visiting application to see their loved one, they got to put their social security number, the driver's license number, and CDCR has access to pull their whole DOJ report. So they see all the arrests. It makes no sense to have a person remember every single detail of their arrest when oftentimes they might forget. And it's not something they're trying to be deceitful. It's just they forget. And when they forget, their visiting applications get denied. And so now they're no longer able to see their loved one because they omitted to put an arrest on their visiting application. And that needs to be done away with. Another huge problem that currently exists is that people that have disciplinary infractions that are not visiting related are getting their visits restricted or denied. And that makes no sense. CDCR has so many other tools at their disposal to use as discipline when people have infractions outside of visiting. It makes no sense if someone doesn't go to work and gets a write-up because they don't report their job assignment on time, they can have their visits taken away. And that makes no sense. There's other things that CDCR can do to discipline that person, and taking away visits should not be one of them. People should stay connected to be able to see their loved ones. Another thing that we're seeking to dismantle is the barrier with people with prior arrest and certain convictions that have nothing to do with visiting are being denied to see their loved ones. And a lot of these arrests go back many, many years. Now the person is doing very well and has been doing well in the free community. Why are these people being denied to see their loved ones? Why is that? Family members, mothers, fathers being able to see their loved ones, their children, they're being denied for arrest or convictions that have nothing to do with any type of visiting infraction. And that needs to stop, and that needs to go away. Another thing that another barrier we're seeking to dismantle is denials for incarcerated people with histories unrelated to visiting, right? People that do not have any type of visiting security issues should be able to see their loved ones. They point blank, they should be able to stay connected to their family, to their children, and everybody wins. And we wouldn't have to hear these stories day in out, Nico, Alex, and so many other children being denied access to their loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay. We're gonna open this moment to go live with questions. So we're gonna unmute all our participants. If you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we're gonna opening it up for questions. Rita, are you the one taking care of the question and answer, or is it Danica?
I will unmute people when they have questions. Just type stack in the chat and I'll unmute you, the attendees, so we can hear you speak.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? If you have any questions related to visiting, just you can type stack, and we're gonna unmute you to ask your question live. I just want to reiterate the need. Once again, Jay just spoke about the visiting bill. It made it very successful in both houses last year. Unfortunately, it got vetoed by the governor, and we are working to see if we can reintroduce the bill this month and be able to get the families to have a right to visit. The visiting bill will give the right to restore the right to incarcerated people, and also give the right to family members and intimate partners to be able to visit their loved ones. It is very important that during these times of the pandemic, video calls, not visits, video calls be able to, there's enough slots, there's enough computers, there's enough spaces for families to be able to keep communicated during the pandemic when there unfortunately cannot be any in-person visits, that there's enough replacement or that there is enough replacement for video calls so that the amount of people that go into for in-person visits can keep communicated through a video call. Sarah Larson, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know that you are here with us as a participant. You are from CDCR. Is there any questions that you would like to ask in regards to the visiting, or is there any information you would like to share with the families? This webinar is live on Facebook. So if you want to ask a question, or if you want to give any information to the families listening, I'm sure they would love to hear you.
I don't have any questions or anything to share at this time, but I do really appreciate you all including me in this conversation and letting me hear your personal stories. I think they're very helpful for me in my discussions with folks internally in the department. So thank you very much for allowing me to participate.
Thank you, Sarah, for being here and making time to listen to the families. And we hope that we can continue to work forward to be able to push this bill, or to hear your reforms or proposals for it, that we can work together something out for the families. Danica, would you like to take a moment to share a little bit more about the appointment problems that are of in greater detail? Okay. So yeah, thank you everyone that joined us today. The purpose, like you know, is to share personal stories about the family members and the issues that they're going through, many of them driving for so many hours, and we just find a need. It is very necessary to be able to work with CDCR this year and the governor to be able to pass a bill that will keep families connected. And like Jay was saying, you know, if an incarcerated loved one has a strong support system on the outside, a strong support family, then that is the opportunity for them to succeed once they are released from incarceration, and that's what we need. We never know who our neighbors are, so if we can support our family members who are incarcerated, we can have healthier, safer neighborhoods, giving them the opportunity to succeed and be a good citizens in our community.
Ivana,
Yes.
we have a question from the Facebook comments. Kim Rohrbach would like to know what's happening with all the money that CDCR saved from the visiting budget. And that's a question we've been asking. And if anybody has an answer to it, this is an opportunity.
Sarah, I don't know if you want to take some time to answer some of the families' questions at this time. We have about 15 minutes in this webinar.
I don't have an answer to that question, but I'd be happy to talk to our fiscal and budgeting folks and see what kind of response I can get. I don't oversee the budget, so I'm not super familiar with that area, but I'd be happy to ask and follow up.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah, and we look forward, like I said, working with you in the future while introducing this visiting bill. And thank you for all our participants who made the time to be here listening to the families. At this point, I think we're going to end our webinar early since there are no questions.
Ivana, for the family members, some people are asking on Facebook what they can do to help get more visits, help our efforts to get more visits. Ivana?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm not sure that, I don't know. Sarah, I'm sorry that family members have questions. I don't know if you're open.
No, I'm asking, I thought maybe CFU, they could get involved in CFU by going to bit.ly, bit.ly/join CFU, and we'll post it on the Facebook page again. And that's the best way to help our efforts.
Yeah, the Coalition for Family Unity meets once a month, every second Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. with family members to learn more about the stories, to update them on what's happening with the bill and where it's at the moment. So yeah, we're gonna be sharing all that information on our Facebook page, and we also have a Google group that we can send that email reminder to meet every Tuesday, every second Tuesday of the month, and communicate with their family members on how they can help support the visiting bill this year. So once again, thank you so much to everybody who made it to the webinar today. Thank you to all our participants. Thank you, Sarah. We appreciate you very much. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Alex and Nico, for making time to be here to share your stories. We appreciate it, and we hope that this year the governor can listen and give us his ear and about the bill and about the issues that are happening, and we can work together on having our visiting bill signed this year. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and thanks for all the support.